I am Vibha Chauhan and welcome to Chauhan classes Funda Clear. So from today I'm going to start the economy of class 10th SST, as we have already completed the three other subjects of this SST. So from this video I'll start the economy of class 10th SST and we'll discuss the first chapter in this session in this video. And the first chapter of class 10th economy is development. Now development, like you could say that very beautiful chapter and a very easy chapter for class 10th economy. Now what we mean development, what we mean by development generally, like we have the ideas for progress or what we call development every day. Like for the whole life we have the aspirations, the desires or the ideas with us for the development or progress. And you know what, that the development is a complex of ideas, like these are very complex ideas, and with the beginning we'll have to talk about development, what actually it means, like what can be done for the national development. Can there be equality for all the people? Can we take all the people for development? What are the essential things needed for that? Like we will see the answers of these questions in this chapter. Now the basic understanding of development will be discussed in this chapter. Now you know what, that like you could say that we'll talk about the depth of development obviously in higher classes, but now the basic idea should be with you. That is why in this chapter we'll talk about development, about the national development, different ideas, criteria of development. So let's get into the chapter with the first topic, that is what development promises different people, different goals. So what development promises different people or different goals? Now you know what, that like if we talk about the development, what is development for you and what is development for a neighborhood people, neighbor. Now you know what, that development can mean for different people, different goals. Like if we talk about a rural laborer, what would he need as a development? He would think that his wage should be more and there should be no discrimination to him as he's a rural laborer. And you know what, that he should be like education, free education should be provided, good quality education should be provided to his or her children. That would be the development, the definition of development for a rural landless laborer. But if we talk about a prosperous farmer in Punjab, what would he want as development? That his children can go to abroad and his crop or products can be sold with higher prices, and he should be supported by the government in the matter of prices. Now development can mean for different people different things. Like for example, a girl from a rich family would ask for more equality and more freedom, and if you talk about a boy from a rich family, his aspects would be different. So you could say that the same development can mean different things for different people. Like even if you talk about you, what are your opinions on development and what are your milkman's opinion on development? Like you could say that they would have their different goals for different people for the same development. So you could say that we'll have to take all those different opinions, different goals of different people, so as for the development for the whole country. Now you could say that development, that is not just like one kind of criteria is there for development. Development promises different things. You could say that there are a lot of aspects and perspectives for development. So you could say that is what development promises, different goals for different people. After that we have here is income and other goals. So income and other goals. Now what would you think that in all these, like different people have different opinions for development, but what would they need is that first of all they would need, most common thing, that their income should be more, like the income from which they can earn a livelihood should be more. After that, besides income, there are other goals as well. Like they would want more freedom, security, and a kind of no discrimination. They would want more equality and more rights. So you could say that there is a matter of income as well as other goals. It's not like that all the people just want the income, because you know what, that those are the, like all the material goods are not just what we need for living in this era. Now you know what, that it is in this world, not all the things, not all the material goods are for our surviving. after that we need to have some moral values, some dignity of ourselves as well. And that is why you could say that for development, for every person, two things are common: income and other goals. By other goals we mean freedom, security, dignity, and kind of equality and other rights. So you could say that, like for example, if we take example, now there's a job that is being offered to you, but there is a kind of lot of income that would be provided to you, like your salary will be so high, but the working hours are so much, you can't give your time to your family, and that job is far away from your place, like there are no opportunities for you. Now would you take that job? Obviously not, because you could say that income is not just only one thing that you will see in that matter. Now there are other things as well. You should give time to your family, and after that you have your dignity as well. So you could say that income we do need, but material goods are not the only thing that we need for our surviving. We have to live with dignity, we have to give our time to our family, and we should have time for ourselves as well. Like for another example, if a woman is being paid, then her dignity increases in her household work and in society. But if she has if there is more proportion of, like you could say that if there is more proportion of men doing the household work, then women still will have dignity and can do the work in outside her house, like she can do the work, office work or any other work besides that household work. So you could say that she has her dignity, but income is not just the only thing that can be provided to you for your surviving to live in this world. You could say that for all the people, development means income as well as other goals. It's not like that they will only have the other goals but not the income. Well, income is for sure that is provided, and you could say that development means different things for different people. Like for one person it can be conflicting to another person as well. So there are two things about development that development means different things for different people. Development means different goals for different people, and that goal, like you could say, second perspective of development could be that development one scheme could be a development for one person, but for another person it could be conflicting or even destructive as well. Like for example, industrialists want to have more electricity, and so they want to build more and more dams, but the people who are living near those dams, who are displaced, don't want that. Like tribals who are conflicted, who are distracted through that development. Now that building of and that construction of them is development for those industrialists, but that is destructive for those tribals. So development may be development for one person, but it can be conflicting. There can be two ideas for two people that can be conflicting, and those both are the ideas of development. Like in many cases what happens that earlier it used to be so much like women have their women would want equal share in the property of their parents, and their brothers, you could say, that would not want that. Like they both want to have their development, but those ideas are conflicting to each other. So ideas may be development or may be conflicting to each other as well. It can be seen in groups, it can be seen in individuals as well. So every individual has his or her own opinions about development, and income and other goals are the different things. So you could say that is about the development. After that we have the next topic, that is national development. Now national development, as we have seen that every individual can have a different notion of development, but if you talk about the national development, the notion for the national development, what would be your ideas? Like if you discuss it in your class, that all the students would have different opinions. Thus we can say that in any country all the individuals have their own opinions, have their own ideas for the development of the country, for the notion of development in the country. Like for example, you could say that like even you might not be sure what should be done for the development of country. Are you sure? No, you aren't. Obviously you won't be. Like you could say that there can be, like if we have to compare, you could say that we have to talk about the national development, then how can we even compare that? How can we talk about the national development? Like you could say that we say that there are different, like countries can be compared on different matters, on different characteristics, but still we say that some countries are developed and some countries are underdeveloped or developing. So how we say that? Like if we talk about the national development, that should be developed for the whole country. Like every person should be developed. There should be development equally for all the person. So how would that be done? Let's talk about it with the next topic, that is how to compare different countries or states. So how to compare different countries or states. Now we talk about the income and other goals. That should be like if we have to compare two countries or the two states. So like we say that they can't be compared. But how would they be compared? We do say, don't we, that this country is developed and this country is developing. How do we compare them? Now one of the most important attributes here is the income of the countries. Now income of the whole country may differ from each other. And also know that income of the whole country means that of all the residents, the total income for all the residents. Like you know what, that the country that has more income will obviously be rich and developed. You could say that country that has more income will be developed. But if that country has more population and another country has even 1/4 of that population, then obviously of that country, the first country would have more income. And that is why there is a concept of average income. Now average income, that is that total income in the country divided by total population, and that is what we also call the per capita income of a country. So per capita income is the average income of a country. Now on the basis of that we can compare two countries or two states. Like we have the criteria for that too. So you could say that the whole income of the country is that the income for all the residents of the country, from all the residents of the country, and the average income is that income divided by the total population. Now there are criteria. Those countries which have the per capita income of above $49,300 in 2019 were considered as rich countries, and those countries who had the per capita income of US dollars below the US dollars of around $6,000 US dollars were considered as lower, as poor countries or kind of low per capita countries. And our India is low per capita country. Like you could say that our India is in middle, and even in middle it's low middle. So it's known as low middle per capita income country. So you could say that there are criteria, like those countries who have the income per capita income of above than $49,300 US dollars, and those countries who have the per capita income below than around $6,000 US dollars in 2019. Like after that we have some problems, we have epidemic, that is why that can't be used that much. So you could say that these are the criteria, and that is why we can compare the countries on the basis of their per capita income. And you could say that all those rich countries excluding the Middle East countries are considered as the developed countries. Now there are two things: rich countries who have more income, more average income, per capita income, and developed countries is another thing. Like Middle East countries are rich countries but they aren't developed. Why is it so? Let's discuss about it with the next topic, that is income and other criteria. So income and other criteria. Now you know what, that Middle East countries like you could say Egypt and those kind of countries are rich countries. They have a lot of per capita income, but still they are not developed because there are other goals as well. There are other criteria as well. You know what, that in those areas there is no equality, there is no gender equality, there is no freedom of the citizen that should be there. So there are another aspects as well. Like if you talk about the developed countries, like it should be that there should be providence of other things as well, like literacy rates, the infant mortality rate, and those kind of dropout rates. Those also matter for the development of a country. Like for example, if you compare three states of our country, Haryana, Kerala and Bihar. Now if you talk about the per capita income of these countries, like if you talk about the Haryana's per capita income, it is around 1,64,000. If we talk about Kerala's income, it is around 1,32,000. And if we talk about Bihar's per capita income, it is around 31,000. But you know what, that on the basis of that, this we can only say that Haryana is the most developed country, a most developed state of our country. But it isn't so, because the literacy rates, infant mortality rate, and the dropout rates also matter for the development. You know what, the literacy rate in Kerala is now 100%, that is around 70% in Haryana, and that is also lower in Bihar. In infant mortality rate, that is those you could say that infant mortality rate are a rate of those children who have died even before completing the age of 1 year. So you could say that even before their first birth, they have died due to some diseases or infections or due to anything. That is known as infant mortality rate. That is considered out of 1,000 children, how many have died before completing the age of 1 year. That is very low in Kerala, around 12, but that is around 36 in Haryana. That is 3 times, thrice of that of Kerala. And dropout rates are also so much in Haryana after, you could say, completing the high school. So you could say that those also things matter. Like if they have per capita income, that doesn't mean that the health of citizen, the kind of security of the citizen doesn't matter. So you could say that those things also matter. After the per capita income, we also have other things. You know what, that those are the only comparison. Like income is one of the most important attributes for the comparison, but that doesn't mean that there are no other attributes for comparison. Like we talk about the imports, exports for the countries. After that, we talk about the GDP, that is, you could say that gross domestic product. After that, we also talk about the citizens' health rate, and you could say that infant mortality rate, life expectancy rate also matters. Life expectancy rate of India as a whole country is around 68, but even in Sri Lanka, that is a very small country, it is around 75.5%, and in India it is around 68.8%. Even the per capita income of Sri Lanka is more than that of India. And if we talk about Bangladesh and Myanmar, those countries do have low per capita income than that of India, but they still have more life expectancy rate. Life expectancy rate, that on an average how much a person is expected to live in a country. Like it isn't that in our country there are no people who are above the age of 70, but on average there is 68.8. that is around even more in Japan and in those countries. Well, those are advanced countries, but even if we talk about Bangladesh and Myanmar, even these countries have more life expectancy rates. How is it so? So on the basis of this, you could say that citizens are everything for a country, for the country's development, isn't it so? Like their health, everything matters for the development of country. Their well-being, their health, their life expectancy, infant mortality rate, those all things concerned with citizens are the most important thing concerned for a country, isn't it so? So you could say that there are income and other criteria for comparison as well. You know what, Dan, that you could say that income is not the only thing. Per capita income is not the only thing. Like if we compare average income, it is not the everything. Like there is a story as well for this. Like if there is a river and there is a family living beside that river, now there are 4 members of family and they have to cross that river. Now they would take out the average income of that average height depth of that river, that is around 5 feet, and their heights around 6 feet, and mother's height 6 feet, and their children height 6 feet, and the smallest children, the littlest children height is around 2 feet. So that would also count as an average of 5 feet. But if they really cross that river on an average of that, then that person who has a height of 2 feet will obviously drown in that water. So you could say that we can't just compare everything on the basis of average income. There are another things as well for the comparison between the countries or 2 states. After that, we have the next topic, that is public facilities. Now, public facilities here doesn't mean that those are provided by the government. Public facilities mean different thing as well. Like public, that is used by the public. You know what, that money in your pocket cannot buy all the goods and services until and unless people take the initiatives. You know what, that if you're studying here, then because other students are studying, other people are studying. If you're studying this tablet, it is only because there are other students who are craving for study. Like if there is no one anyone in your village who is studying and your parents will not take the initiative, then how would you be sent to the school unless they are very rich to send you to a private school elsewhere? So you could say that unless the whole community wants that, then you can just have it. Like for example of COVID-19, even if you have so much money, still without maintaining the social distancing, you can't be prevented from this disease. So you could say that from infectious diseases, infections, diseases, pandemics, epidemics, you can't just be saved just with the money. Even if you have so much money, without the initiatives by community groups, you can't take anything. So you could say that money in your pocket cannot buy all the goods and services in this world. After that, you could say that like there is like public facilities, like that public facilities also is the cheapest way of kind of all the facilities. Like for example, if you're living in a society, then you can just have a guard at the society gate. Why having guards for each house? Like even the guards would be so bothered by it. Like if you have so many houses in a society, you can just have 1 or 2 guards, watchmen at the entrance of that society. By having all those watchmen over each house, like it will even enhance the money, even kind of you will have to give more and more money, like you'll have to spend more and more money, and it would be in vain, wouldn't it be? So you could say that public facilities is a kind of, it should be used by everyone. Like if many of the students want to go to school, why using private vehicles? Like there will be a lot of petrol, a lot of fuel that will be used. Why not going in a public bus or in a school bus? So you could say that we need to have more and more public facilities. Like in India, there is a kind of system of PDS, public distribution system, which is distributed all over India equally and very well. Like it is very beneficial for our country. After that, when we talk about the public facilities, we have many other things, don't we? Like we have public vehicles and many other things. So you could say that public facilities are also very important, because not just money can give you everything. After that, the next and last topic of this chapter is sustainability of development. So sustainability of development. Well, it's good to see that country, a country is very developed, not just in per capita income, but in life expectancy rates in every aspect. But what is the guarantee that it will be sustained? It will be saved for future generations as well. Like many scientists, philosophers say that we need to sustain these development as well for the future generations. Otherwise, it will be just disappear. Like we have examples as well, like the example of groundwater. Now groundwater is a renewable resource, but still if we overuse it, then it is being replenished by the rainwater, there are chances that it will disappear. Another kind of example of our renewable resources, like the fossil fuels. Like you could say that they have been formed with millions of years and we are just overusing them. So you could say that we have to sustain the development for the future generations. As ancestors have given us, we'll have to give our future generations as well. So we'll have to sustain development, and that is what big scientists, philosophers, inventors say this. So you could say that we'll have to sustain development, we'll have to take you could say that we have to take the first steps, awareness. There is a lack of awareness among the people as well. So you could say that if you want to have development, you'll have to study it in the history and civics as well, because we are today because of our history, because of our past. We can't just live today without past. So you'll have to know about past as well, because what we are today is because of past. And after that, if we want to have more development, then there is a need of very powerful democratic politics that you can study from civics that I've already explained. So you could say that this is all we have discussed in this chapter. You know what, the debate on development always continues about the complex ideas, different opinions, views, visions of different people, isn't it? Like even to your news channels, TV news channels, and many other things, you will see debate on development always continues, and even you can take part in it. So continue with that. It is all we have discussed in this chapter. I have covered all the topics and subtopics, and the next chapters of this book will be covered soon. So stay tuned for upcoming videos. Thank you very much.